Enjoying Life Over the Road, a community that champions adventure, innovation, and well-being.
Welcome to Enjoying Life OTR. My name is Cindy Tunstall, and I'm your host. You know, I started this podcast because I wanted to honor truck drivers. I wanted a place to be able to share their stories, and we have a great guest today. His name is Barry Whimberley. He's been driving trucks for a long time, and he says whatever is on his mind, and I just love that. In this episode, he shares some great experiences. We talk about everything from life on the road, community, CB radios, e-logs, and a bunch of other great stuff. Barry's a lot of fun, and it was an honor to talk with him. So you're going to enjoy this episode. So stay tuned. You're going to really like this one. Welcome to the show, Barry.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited for our audience to meet you because you've been trucking for a long time and you've done all kinds of work. So I think you've got some great stories to share with us. Tell our audience how long you've been in the industry.
Since 1998.
Oh, well, so you've seen a lot. So tell me, what kind of truck are you driving right now, and then what kind of trucks have you driven in the past?
I have a 2016 Freightliner Cascadia right now with the automatic transmission, which is kind of the best thing in the world. But I've had driven the 550 Cats, the 18 speeds, and long hood Peterbilts, and the Freightliner is one of the easiest ones to maneuver in the tight spot, and it works great.
And what kind of, are you a company driver now or owner-operator? Tell us a little bit about what kind of work you're doing.
Now, I drove for an owner-operator my first 10 years, and he kind of launched everything in 08 when the fuel prices went high, and then 09 I became a company driver at this company that I'm with now, and in July 2019, I had a little incident with them that I didn't like that they were trying to enforce. So I went to a buddy of mine's company and drove for him a flatbed and pulled my first oversized with it. Then I went and bought my first truck from Navistar. And I came back to the company that I was working for as a company driver and leased my truck on with them. And then I had bad luck on that truck. I had some maintenance problems with it. So the company that I was with, they offered me a truck that a pretty reasonable price. And so that's the truck I have now. And I sold the other one off.
Oh, nice. So what's your favorite type of freight that you've been running? I know you've done reefer and you've done, you said you just did oversized and drive-in. What's your favorite type of freight to run?
Drive-in is the easiest, really. You don't have to really do anything except for put a strap on and close the doors. The flatbed, I probably needed that one because of the weight that I gained. It would have gave me some exercise.
I know, I always think that flatbed drivers should be the most fit drivers. They do a lot of physical work getting that load prepared.
That's right, and they're out there in all types of weather, too. They don't get to take a break. If, they're getting loaded somewhere and they got to get out and strap, especially if it's in a safety environment as when they get loaded at the shipper and they have to use their equipment to be able to put their tarps on and stuff like that. They only got a certain amount of time they can do that because there's always trucks waiting to get behind them to use that equipment. And they're out there in the freezing rain, snow, wind. That's a tough bunch right there. I mean, I don't mind doing it every once in a while, but I don't think that could be my gig every time.
I know, right? I always think, well, you don't need the gym membership when you're driving a flatbed. Get your workout every day. And
the refrigerated, people don't realize it, but they got some crazy schedules and unload times. Some shippers or receivers only will unload at night between 9 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And if you got an appointment at say, 4 o'clock in the morning to get unloaded in St. Louis, Well, you're going to Kansas City, short 4-hour drive, 5-hour drive away. You're sitting over there all day and waiting for your appointment at 2:00 in the morning. So some refrigerated areas you end up sitting a lot. They usually pay more detention time, the company that you're driving for. Owner-operators don't get much, but the company drivers, they usually get a little bit more detention time for that.
I think you have to have a lot of patience to drive a reefer. It's like there's a lot of waiting.
Right, and the older I get, the more I've been out here. When I was pulling a reefer, I kind of liked it. I was a lazy man driver then. I wasn't on the go all the time, and the older I get, the more burnout I get. I guess you could say. Yeah, that's right.
Well, tell us where you're from, Barry. What part of the country are you from, and then where you like to run?
I'm from a little town in Kansas called Chitopa, is where I grew up. And then I bought a house 8 miles north in a town called Oswego, Kansas. And I prefer to run the southeast area or the northeast area. A lot of people don't like northeast, but to me, it's a lot better than coming out here west.
What do you like about that area? Why do you say that?
Well, Wyoming is the state that needs to disappear because you come out in the winter and you've got 60, 70 winds, you've got the snow. Like, for example, Interstate 80 now has been shut down for 2 or 3 days because of the wind and the snow. And it might not necessarily even be where you're at that you get shut down. They might shut down at Cheyenne, but you're not going to have any snow or the wind or anything like that until you get over to Elk Mountain, because what they do is they have a policy that when an exit fills up the motels and the truck spots in that truck stop, if there's one in that town, is full, they will shut it down at the exit before you get to that point, and they will wait for the motels to get full, the truck stops to get full, and when that happens, they'll roll it back again. So if there's numerous days that the interstate's closed, you could be stopped in Evanston, for example, and you won't hit the bad weather until you get to Elk Mountain, and that's 245 miles away, Flying J's is 209, so about 230 miles away, they can shut you down.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, tell me about, you've been driving a truck for a long time, Barry. So tell me some stories about some of the adventures you faced out there, some crazy trips you've made.
When I first started, I was pulling an end dump. We had side mount hydraulic tanks, so we could hook on to cabinet loads that went out east. A few times, I made a few rookie mistakes, like taking a road off Interstate 77 in Virginia that went straight to South Boston, Virginia. It had a sign up there warning me about a length or a kingpin length or something to do with the length of the truck. And I went anyway because I was driving a short-nosed Peterbilt, and I thought the 53 foot of my trailer was over, the back axles. And I thought I'd be underneath it, so I went that flatbed and a cab over got behind me and started telling me I was over length and all this stuff, and that DOT would be waiting on the other side. And
so a driver was telling you that was following you, was telling you that was going to happen?
Yeah, that I was over length and too long for that road and everything. And I was like, dude, you just need to shut up, So I went over and got on that mountain, and it was really one of the first ones that I'd actually ever had been on. But I had on plastic trash cans. They were going to Dollar General distribution center, so it wasn't that heavy. we started to come down the mountain, and that's when he started telling me where DOT sits down there at the bottom, and that they sit there all the time, and they're going to be waiting for me and stuff like that. And sure enough, there they was. The guy on the radio, and he's like, "Hey, yep, there they are sitting there. Oh, but don't worry, they won't pull up, stop you until you get down the road a little bit. There's only one spot down there you can pull over. Yep, there they are, pulling down behind you. Yep, there they go, turning on the lights." And I'm like, "Dude, man, what in the world?" And sure enough, I ended up being 2 foot over the length. The guy gave me a break, though. He told me, "Hey, you know how to use your Jake brakes, or we'd be picking you up out of the trees." And I said, "Well, you ain't sure that ain't oil leak that you're smelling?" Dude said, don't be a smart ass. I'm going to let you go. And he took out a notepad and wrote down the company name of the truck, took my driver's license, wrote all that down, and told me not to be caught on it again. The crazy thing is, I called one of my buddies, and I asked him about that road, and he told me he took it a week and a half before, right? When I got over there and I called the boss up, he said, "What? Bradley told you could take that road?" Well, he got a ticket for doing it last week.
Are you serious?
So Bradley got a ticket for taking that road, but told me it was all right to take it.
Yeah, I don't think he was your buddy.
Oh, well, about a month later, I trusted him again, right? Because I'd heard all the stories about Donner Pass, and I was just... I pulled the end dump for a couple of years, but this was my first, within the first couple of months of having that 53-foot trailer behind me, because the end dump's only, I think it was a 38-foot. I called him up about Highway 50 out there, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'll take it all the time." Okay, so I started off over by Carson City, took Highway 50 through Lake Tahoe, and sure enough, there was a state trooper that was sitting in there was a row of cabins, because it's like that ski resort or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And she was sitting there, and there was so much traffic that I was in, and you could tell by the look on her face that, I was kind of somewhere I should have been. And cruising down through there, and the next thing you know, there's this tunnel, and it's not very long. It's probably just as long as the truck, or maybe 2 truck lengths. And better make sure that you're in the middle of that tunnel, because if you're not, you're taking the top of the trailer off.
Oh, Lord.
And I really didn't know that I was illegal. I mean, I kind of didn't see no more semis up there.
Notice you're the only one?
Right, I seen a truck pulling a little small pup, like a FedEx or a whatever, or that style with just a little short pup on it. And I thought, well, maybe some places these guys go to, they'll drop their pup, in a rest area or alongside the road, and then they'll go into a town and unload that pup, and then they'll go back, pick the other one up, or hook on it and go in with that one.
Yeah.
So that wasn't no big deal to me. And then I was talking to my boss again, and he's like, "You've been listening to Bradley again, ain't you?" And I got lucky on that one right there, real lucky. I don't care to try and go out a route much anymore, because that and those two, and then that 550 highway from Ridgeway, I think it is, over to Durango, that is going south. If you don't have your axles all the way up, your outside tire will hang off the edge.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, I had my little brother with me. He was just screaming and hollering at me. You could see the lights coming, people coming at you. But they'd be like way down the road, 4 or 5 miles. But you would think they were just right around the curve. And he'd be screaming, "There's a car on that curve." And you can't even see around it, until you actually get out of there, They got a highway out of Lewiston, Idaho, Highway 95. goes down to Boise.
Yeah.
That road where you turn off of 95 to go down to Boise, you have to have a permit for.
Yeah.
I think they lifted the permit for actual 95, but to turn off that goes to Boise, they have a permit. So the permit is for you go to a weigh station and they measure the length of your front axle to the back axle of your trailer. They figure out how far into the oncoming traffic lane will your truck get to go around that curve.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And if it's too long, then they won't give you the permit to go down the road.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that sounds crazy.
They need one of them for $5.50.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because on 550, when you're going south, the mountain edge is on your right. No guardrails. There's no shoulder. But coming back north, it's not so bad because you got the mountain on your right. So when you're going around the curves, you at least, you're not going to drive off the edge, but you might slam your trailer into the mountain a little bit, but you're not going to be one of the trucks that are down there 2,000 or 3,000 feet because there's no way to bring the trucks back up, and there's a few of them down there.
Yeah, that's a scary reminder when you're making the trip.
Yeah, it's that road is crazy. They call it the $1 Million Highway because they say that there's $1 million worth of gold dust in that highway when it was built. It's one of the stories. But I say you need $1 million worth of life insurance to go down it.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's that road is kind of crazy.
You'd have to pay me $1 million to get me on it. I'm chicken.
There's a lot of bull haulers, grain haulers, off the road kind of people that they got a little bit more gumption than what other people do. So there's a lot of them that take that road, though.
Yeah, I admire that, but like from here, from afar.
Yeah, I don't think I did because I was, sometimes I get a little crazy. I was texting my friend trying to cuss him out for not telling me about it. And then you got my little brother over there screaming and hollering, get down.
Like the drive's not crazy enough?
When I first started, I had a few close calls of really getting in trouble. But believe it or not, the ELD saved my driving record probably. Yeah. Because I had the big 550 Cat, 18 speed, Virginia cruising down the road and hear on the radio, wow, that unmarked sure is moving pretty good. I look in the mirror, he back there about maybe a mile and a half, maybe. He was just clearing traffic coming at me. Yeah. So I kind of scoot over in between these two trucks, but I didn't realize there was a weigh station up there about 2 miles. And next thing you know, I'm pulling in the weigh station, and he's right there on me. So I pull off to the side a little bit, out of the way of the scales, and my girlfriend was with me, and dude walks up there and he said, looks at Tina, and he don't even say nothing to me. He just says, hey, does he always drive like this, and always in a hurry to get to the scale? And I thought, wow, dude, and he's like, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to go back there and write you a ticket. And while I'm writing this ticket, he said, you catch your logbook up because most of the people that I see going that fast, they don't have the logbook filled out. That was before we had ELDs. Yeah. And so he actually wrote me a ticket for, I think it was a 78 and a 65. And he went ahead and he really didn't yell or scream at me. He didn't even check my logbook. So he was just like, I started to hand it to him. He's like, no. I'm sure that this ticket's going to cost you enough. So I'm sure you filled it out. And I was like, wow, and I'd only been driving for probably 3 years. Yeah. And I thought, man, I sure do. I'm making a lot of mistakes. And And then I realized, that's part of it. I mean, you are going to make mistakes your first couple of years. Anytime you think that you are the best driver in the world, anybody can get lucky. That's why beginner's luck.
Yeah.
I got a few tickets, and people look down on some of the companies that govern when you first start out. That's probably saving a lot of people's license right there.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I even think that about the e-logs. It's like, I know for me, it's like I just push it too hard. And I mean, actually, I personally like it that they're like limiting my drive time, because I sometimes will push it too hard. And it really, for me, I do need the rest. And anyway, so I'm kind of grateful for the guardrail, so to speak.
Well, yeah, and back in the day, it wasn't as necessary as it is now. I mean, there were drivers that went a little overboard, but it was fun too. And everybody watched out for everybody. That's the problem we have today, that nobody has a common artery. Nobody talks on the CB each other no more. Nobody, you see a truck sitting on the side of the road, they just drive right on by because of that e-log. And they don't really have time to stop, or we've all went into a self-person category out here where we don't communicate with each other as much. We just want to come out here, do the job, and then go home.
I've often thought about the CB as a reason why, when some new drivers aren't using it as often, that's part of the reason that there's not that community feeling. Because I've heard other drivers say similar things, that in the past there used to be a greater community and people would stop and help. But honestly, I didn't even think till you said that e-log is part of the reason, because you're on the clock and you've got, you got to make your delivery time, and there's no cushion there. So I didn't think of that as contributing to the lack of community in the industry. But you're right. I can see that now, that's a downside of it.
Right, and then you got the XM radio. That's another thing. All the technologies come in to where we don't need to communicate with nobody anymore out here.
Yeah.
And it also is part of some of the reason, not all of it, that I don't like Wyoming, because in Wyoming, there's no communication during the winter on weather, or if somebody has a wreck, they have major pileups. And that's because nobody's on the CB saying, hey, Joe Schmo's sitting up there sideways, and the next thing you know, he could be in a blind area on a hill, right?
Yeah.
And you've got 30 or 40 trucks just piling into each other.
Yeah, that's scary too.
Yeah, but these new drivers today, they missed out on a lot starting back in the early 2000s. I could imagine what it was like back in, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, because when I jumped in, they had third row or back row was party row, right?
Yeah.
And you go back there, you see the old, the old chicken haulers, they'll reefer guys, and they might have a case of, beef or chicken or whatever rejected somewhere. Well, they got a barbecue grill out, lawn chairs out, grilling, drinking a couple of beers. And it was a more fun, more exciting, kind of life as a truck driver back then.
Well, and even that is community. I mean, just to have, there's a camaraderie between drivers and getting to share those experiences. I could see that it's very different. Right,
and they weren't on a time schedule.
Yeah, the time schedule makes a big difference.
The ELD's got a lot to do with it too, because you had a lot more fluctuation in your
scheduling
time.
And what you want to do with your time. Yeah.
Right, the scheduling and all that was just so much different, and it was kind of crazy and a little bit exciting, because some of the older guys that had been into it for a while, like leave Albuquerque, for example, right? And you hear the last one to Barstow buys dinner, better get in the right lane, because Yeah, these guys were just, there couldn't be nobody a mile or two behind you. You wouldn't see nobody in that mirror. And then next thing you know, there's 10, 15 trucks all lined up, and they're just cruising right on down the road. Wasn't near the traffic we have nowadays, so they could, it was just a lot safer, but it was a little bit more crazier.
Yeah. Well, I even think that about the ELD. It's like, it's nice, it limits the time that you drive, but then I also watch when I'm pushing up against my schedule, and so I'm flying trying to get to my destination before my clock runs out. So I'm like, I don't know if this is making it safer for me. I mean, I'm trying to be a safe driver and be careful, but it's like there's pros and cons of each, and I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see how it works out in the end, but
right. And
it's not all good, not all bad.
Right, and some people are like to sleep in the morning. Some people are morning people. Some people are night people. But this, the way the ELD is, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It's all in how your schedule is. So a lot of times I'll get up in the morning and start to take off, and I'll be watching for my 8-hour time to click, right? Because then I'd only have to take one 30-minute break. And I get down to 7.5 hours time to drive left. I'll stop and take an hour nap. And there's some days that you can go till, you're 8 hours to take your 30-minute break.
Yeah.
And that right there is a detriment to a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we're not all one size, so the rule doesn't fit for everybody. It doesn't work in every situation. Then you lose the benefit of being able to make what's right for you in the moment. And yeah, have the clock have to mandate. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, well, tell me some more stories. Tell me about any kind of stories you want to tell us about, some specialty freight that you've had to run or something like that, usual situations. You've been driving a long time. I'm sure you've got some good stories about the freight you've been carrying.
Oh, yeah, some of that. That can vary a lot. For example, diamonds down by Miami, Florida. It's actually jewelry, but I ran a couple of those up to Bentonville, and they'll load you at 6 o'clock. Well, when you check in on a phone outside. They will tell you where to park. You sit there after all the business is closed. After the business closed, people come out and they all got hospital gowns on or hospital scrubs where they don't have no pockets and stuff like that. And then they'll call you and they'll tell you to back up to the dock door. There's a security guard standing there when he opens up the door. And the first time it really tripped me out. I was like, what? I didn't know
did you know what it was? Yeah, I was going to say, did you know what it was?
Not the first time, no, I didn't. And I backed up, and as soon as I hit the dock, the security guard was at my door. And I was like, wow, okay. And he said he is your best friend for the whole time that you're there. If you got to go to the bathroom, he goes to the bathroom with you. Anything you do, he is right there beside you. If you walk outside because you forgot something and you walk back in there, he's right there with you the whole time. And I got there and they put like 8 boxes on me, probably about the size of a case of oil. And put them on that pallet and put that one pallet on there, and they said, you're done. And I thought, wow, this is going all the way to Arkansas? But I knew I was going to a Sam's distribution, though. Yeah. So, and then I got to looking around, and on the shipper's desk right there were little ring containers, or the cases, and they were all over on the shelves. I assumed then I was picking up at least rings. Yeah, I didn't jewelry. Know what else. Yeah. And then when they gave me the bill of lading, I got out and I started looking at it, and it was like, wow, $853,000. And I hauled it a few times. None of them went over $1 million. So it's probably the second or third one I had. That broker called me and wanted to know where I was at, because they did a lot of, sometimes would call you just to talk to you, kind of, to make sure that you're right there. And I like to talk. Okay. So, hey, Yeah. Has anybody ever drove off with one of these loads before? That girl said, what? I was like, well, yeah. I mean, by the time I leave here at 6 o'clock Wednesday night, I go to Bentonville, be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I could be all the way halfway to California by then.
And you're saying that to the broker?
To the broker. Yeah. I said, well, I could even be down in Mexico, you know. And she was like, well,
where are you now?
What do you haul? How do you know what you're hauling? And I told her right there on the bill of lading, it says it's $800 and some $1,000. I said, you know, I was told that you have 2 coming out the week before Valentine's Day, so I'm assuming that, you know, you can't go over $1 million for the insurance purpose. And what else is going to cost $800 and some $1,000 that you load at a warehouse that's got little ring containers and all over the place? So I know it's some kind of jewelry.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was Sam's Club jewelry that they sell at the counter. And it had rings, everything, earrings, necklaces, all that. And you know how many little boxes you can fit in one of them cases, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it. But I get going down the road after I talked to her, and next thing you know, my dispatcher's calling. He says, did you and Lori have a good time talking? I was like, oh, yeah, I talked. She called a while ago to see where I was at. And Dana said, well, was it an interesting conversation? And I knew where she was going with it, right?
Yeah.
And she said, I've just been on the phone with her for about 15 minutes trying to convince her how honest you are and that you're not going to take that load and that it will end up where it belongs. And I about died.
That is too funny.
Laughing, and Dana's like, really, this isn't funny. This
it is a little funny.
One of our customers, you know, and I was just cracking up. And she said, next time, you know, if you want to have a conversation with her, you know, talk about going fishing. Talk about flying a kite somewhere, you know. Talk about anything except for wanting to know if somebody had drove off with that.
He had her all freaked out.
I couldn't believe, you know, that I thought I was, you know, trying to make a joke with her, but I guess she didn't take it that away.
Now she's ready to call the police on you and start tracking down your truck.
Yeah, I think so. And in today's technology, I'm sure that they probably track that load somehow. If you know, they might throw a tracker in inside one of the boxes, or only have trucking companies that have tracking devices.
Yeah.
But our ELDs do that now too.
Yeah,
so.
There's a lot of ways.
Yeah, but back then we couldn't have done it with an ELD.
Yeah.
You picked it up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You were in Bentonville, Arkansas at 6 in the morning, the next morning.
Yeah. Well, Barry, tell me a little bit about what you're up to in the future. I know that you have a brokerage as well, right?
I started it in July of 2021 called Hornet Logistics LLC. I grew up in a town called Setopa, and they were the Setopa Hornets. And I bought my house in Oswego, which was 8 miles away, and they were the Oswego Indians. When I grew up in Setopa, we weren't once you got into high school, you didn't really want to go into Oswego and Oswego guys really didn't come to Setopa because they were our football rivals. And they played the Bloody Bucket is what it was, once a year. And it was kind of crazy. Build a big old bonfire and, you know, throw a Oswego Indian dummy in it, you know. And we had an old car that'd pull up out to the football field, and $1, you could hit it with a sledgehammer. A lot of the times that you'd have to, you know, be on guard because people from Oswego didn't want to come down and, you know, soap your windows of the main street, and guys from, you know, Setopa would go up to Oswego and cause mischief. Now, Bloody Bucket's over with, and it's more of a combined get together, everybody. It's nothing like the rivalry days, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And Chitopa being 1,200 people or less, Oswego being 1,500 or less. I'm not even sure if Chitopa's even got 800 people in it anymore. But to get a good job, you have to go out into another town unless you kind of had family that worked in the city departments, and it was like each person and their family just moves up into that position. It's
right.
Small town stuff.
Yeah.
As a brokerage, when I can get it going and actually put a driver in my truck, we'll be able to train single moms or the older people that doesn't have a way out to make a decent income.
Nice.
That would bring us all to bring everybody together, and it's part of Oswego and Chitopa because of the name. So it would be like a community place where they could actually get a job and be home at the same time.
I like that. So you're doing a lot to give back to your community. I like that.
Yeah. So, but the problem is you got to get the trucking community to lose the stereotype of what all brokers are today.
I would think that drivers would be interested to run with you because so many times a broker, you feel like, you have no idea what life on the truck is like. You don't know what my job is like. You don't know what it's like to have to watch my clock. And, you could just tell when you're talking to these young brokers that they really don't know a lot about trucking. And it's very frustrating. So I would think that since you're a driver that, other carriers would be interested to sign up with you and work with you because you know the life and you know what you're asking them to do. So I think that would be good for building relationships, I would think.
I mean, it's been like that for years.
Yeah.
The truck drivers, I think brokers are making so much money off of it, and and it's not being passed down to them. There's kind of a standstill in the middle when it comes to how our supply chain works.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't know if it will ever change. Yeah. But it's something that the trucking industry now, they need to learn to adapt to it. Yeah. I watched our boss, he had to adapt to different ways as we were growing. Yeah. They started with 20 trucks and then went to 130. Oh, wow. So I'm hoping that I can set my brokerage up as the way he set the company up. Your 3 loads that you haul, the load you're on, the next one, and the next one. Set a rate. If you want $350, if that's what it takes for you to make money and for your truck to run, set that rate that you're looking for at $350, right? Yeah. So use those 3 loads that you're getting. Like the first load might pay $380 over average. Your second load might pay $370. It's over average. So you take the difference of them two, the average of them two, right? Yeah. And you take the third load. You might be able to take a $3.10 load. Or you might even go down to $2.90, right? Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's like we look at the every load specific, but we really need to stand back and look a little bit at the overall over the month, over the time, and how we're averaging out. Right, because the 3 loads together could average your $3.50, right? Yeah. It's not just, the ELD and stuff like that that's causing people to kind of stay on edge. And they're on a lot of stress, and I think if that could be gone, right? Yeah. We could actually move back into the days of when I first started. Yeah. And it was kind of exciting. And I hope one of these days that can come back.
I do too, Barry. I've started a website. It's called elotr.com, and it's for Enjoying Life OTR. And I'm hoping that it can be a place where drivers can connect, and we can use each other as a resource and share favorite places to stop. And because I'm a people person, and I like community. It's real important to me, and I like hearing the stories about back in the day, and getting to talk to other drivers who have been on the road longer. And I'd like to have people where I could ask questions, and so I'm trying to build that community there. So you'll have to hop on my website and post some of your favorite stops, and kind of share some of your wisdom with the community there, because I'd appreciate that. And because I really think that we all need that. I think everybody needs community. So I think it's a place for us to be able to connect and talk with other people who understand our lifestyle and the challenges that we face, and be able to be support and encouragement to each other when we're facing challenges, because we all need that, right?
I think that's right. And it's lost out here.
Yeah, it is.
Just think of all the things you became when you become that truck driver, right?
Yeah.
You became a traveler. You became a tourist.
Yep.
But to see everything when you're out here, a lot of times you're just driving by it and not actually being able to stop.
Yeah.
And really enjoy the things that you can see out here or do. Some of it is because you're by yourself, and people just don't like doing stuff by themselves.
Yeah.
But
I even think for me, when I'm driving, it's like I'm tired, and like when I do want to stop and try someplace new and be able to go out and do something else when I'm not driving. But I'm like, I don't have time to figure it all out, and if I was driving to Phoenix or whatever, I'd like to hear from somebody that had, done something fun while they were there without having to, risk spending my whole day trying to find something fun to do. So if somebody had already done something there that they would recommend for me to try while I was in town, and I have, I'm on a 34, I'd love to read that. So I'm hoping the community can be a place where we can share those ideas and, just make it easier on each other, and, make the most of the opportunity to travel without adding any more difficulty to our life.
Right. I mean, it's so spread out on some of the stuff, like I-10, I think it is. It's got the thing. Stop and see the thing. You see billboards for miles. I mean, they started like 100 miles away, and average 10, 15 miles is this big old thing. Sign billboards says the thing. That right there is one of the craziest things that, well, besides the fudge plant in Missouri on I-44. It's called Uranus. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
Uranus.
That's too crazy.
Yeah, and it is. It's crazy. You get up there, and I think they got enough room for 3 or 4 trucks to be parked in their lot, and it's just on the right-hand side, in between Springfield and St. Louis, and that is one of the craziest ones I've seen too.
Okay, so you have to put that on my website so people know where to stop, get their fudge.
And then, you've always got to talk about Phoenix. You're in the area of Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And they have a Love's at that town. It's got the big old bear symbol as you come in. But anyhow, they have a train that you can get on and that you can ride up into the Rockies on.
Oh, nice.
There's a place in New Jersey, and it's in Kearney, New Jersey. And you know how it's hard to find parking spots out there, isn't it? Wow, it's just crazy trying to find a place. But they have a truck stop called the Jersey City Truck Stop. And they have a dining car, an old train dining car.
Oh, yeah.
Used to sit across the street from Carnegie Hall, and they moved it over to where it sits now by Jersey City Truck Stop. They actually built a brick building, brick around it, so it looks just like a regular old little mom and pop diner cafe, right?
Nice.
But when you walk in there, it is a dining car from when they had them on the trains. And it is just unbelievable how you just walk back into history into it, right?
So fun. See, you got to put that on my website. I like that. See, these are the kind of ideas I want us to share with each other. So it's accessible when you're in the truck and something different to do. So I love that.
Right.
Well, Barry, thanks so much for being on the show. I'm so grateful that you took the time for me. I've enjoyed talking with you.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Well, before
Thanks
we wrap
for
up, tell us how drivers can get in touch with you. What's your website for your brokerage in case they want to get signed up with y'all?
Indian Hornet Logistics LLC.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, Barry. I appreciate all you do, and I enjoyed talking with you today. And be safe out there, okay?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
And y'all be safe, too.
Okay, good. And we'll look to connect with you on my website too, elotr.com.
Okay,
Get some of your good ideas on there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, Gary. I appreciate you. Have a good evening.
You too, ma'am.
Hey, don't forget to check out our community at elotr.com. It's a social media network just for truckers. So make some notes, share your ideas, leave reviews, and post lots of pictures. We want to hear about the many ways that you are enjoying life over the road. I do need your help with something, seriously. This community is only going to work if others participate. So please tell other people about the website. Another way that you can help us spread the word is to leave a review where you listen to this podcast. Reviews are really important because when people leave reviews, that host will automatically start recommending our show to other people. And we need more drivers to hear about the podcast and the website so our community will be full of great ideas, photos, suggestions, all from great drivers just like you. So don't forget, like, subscribe, share our show, and please, if you would, leave us a review. Thanks so much. I sure appreciate you. Be safe out there, and by all means, enjoy the journey.